Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Megan Lee.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Highlight Show, where we bring you the best picks of the week. Here's a look at what's coming up. Rock meets racing. Pink Floyd drummer Nick Mason at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Fairytale celebration. 200 years of the Grimm Brothers, German legends. And Paradise of Nature, Estonia's oldest national park, is a feast for the senses. Nick Mason, the legendary drummer of Pink Floyd, recently traded in his drum set for a racing suit. That's because aside from being one of the rock and roll greats, he's also a major car enthusiast, but not just any cars. He apparently has a passion for the old-fashioned kind. So we caught up with a musician at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in southern England, where we witnessed him putting the pedal to the metal.
Nick Mason, a legend of British rock music behind the wheel of a legend in German motorsport history. Audi has given the Pink Floyd drummer a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to race a 1930 Auto Union Silver Arrow around the 2-kilometer-long track at Goodwood Park.
It's an opportunity to experience just a taste of what it must have been like in 1936 and to drive these incredible cars.
The Type C car was the most successful model of the Auto Union Silver Arrows before the Second World War. With a 520 horsepower 16-cylinder engine, it won the 1936 European Championship Grand Prix with Bernd Rosemeyer at the wheel. He was unbeatable in a car that could reach speeds of up to 340 kilometers per hour.
Unbelievable, because I mean, it was about 50 years ahead of its time in terms of power. It's terrific. The car is running perfect. When you're going quite fast, the steering is quite light. A lot of, the car is very geared to the idea that with all that power, that it's not really an enormous effort.
Nick Mason has been a lifelong fan of both classic cars and motorsports. He's been taking part in races for decades. He's also the proud owner of more than 40 valuable vintage cars. He's a regular participant in the Mille Miglia vintage car rally in Italy, mostly together with his wife, Nettie.
I was brought up in a motoring family. My father made films about motorsport and raced himself. He raced a vintage Bentley. And so for me, that was always the great treat in life, was to be involved in cars. And I always then wanted to go motor racing.
But constantly being asked for his autograph has more to do with his music career. In 1965, he and 4 other musicians founded Pink Floyd. The rock band has sold over 260 million records and CDs to date. Nick Mason has never had enough time for racing. Music and motorsport, 2 very different passions that have dominated Nick Mason's life. Music may have earned him a lot more money, but he still knows exactly what he loves about motorsport.
The thing about motor racing is that you do it on your own, whereas in a band, drummers have to have a bass player and a keyboard player and a guitar player and a singer. And it's so nice to do something where you're in the car on your own, you're responsible.
Between races, there's plenty going on. The weekend festival draws celebrities from all over with a passion for racing. Hollywood star Keanu Reeves shows off a motorbike he developed himself. He loves the unique atmosphere of this festival.
All of the racers, the history, the machines, all the fans, people just enjoying motoring and the passion. So many innovators and champions and future champions, past champions.
It's about a celebration. There is a competition, but it's now quite small, the competition. The rest of it is about a celebration of motorsport.
And so Nick Mason and his wife are happy to take in all the parties on the sidelines. But despite all the glitz and glamour, Most of the guests here have only one thing on their minds and can't wait to get back on the racetrack.
Anonymous in life, famous in death. That saying rings true for many creative types, including the brothers Grimm. After all, what would childhood have been like without Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, or Hansel and Gretel? Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm were accomplished academics in their day, but little did they know that they and their fairy tales would one day achieve worldwide fame. In fact, there is even a fairytale route right here in Germany which traces the places where the Grimm brothers lived and worked in various stages of their lives. And one of the towns along that route is now celebrating 200 years of Grimm's legends.
A city populated with characters from sagas. The historic district of Hamelin is full of the heroes of fairy tales and legends. And plenty of rats, too. They recall the most famous character from a German saga, the Pied Piper. He is supposed to have lived more than 700 years ago, but even today, most people have heard of him.
It's just a lovely story that's passed down from generation to generation.
A jaunty cat with a feather, that's a Pied Piper for me, colourfully clothed like he sometimes walks around here in Hamelin.
I know him from the fairy tale books my parents used to read to me.
What made the Pied Piper famous was the collection of German sagas compiled by the brothers Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm. 200 years ago, they published a volume with many folk tales, like the one about the musician who freed Hamelin of rats. When the people of Hamelin refused to pay him, he lured away all the children with his music. The Grimms didn't invent the story, but they made the Pied Piper world famous. This legend has been translated into more than 30 languages.
The Pied Piper story profited from the popularity of the Grimm brothers' other work. It's very popular all over the English-speaking world and Europe. Asia, too, has many fans of the Pied Piper and of legends and fairy tales in general.
And Hamelin profits, too. Each year, some 3.8 million people visit the city to walk in the footsteps of the Pied Piper, or to experience him live. For the past 22 years, Michael Boyer has been Hamelin's official Pied Piper. The U.S. citizen has known the story since childhood.
I read about the Pied Piper when I was in 3rd grade. I didn't believe the story with its piper who could lead rats and children out of town with his magic, and the mayor who refuses to pay him but can't do anything about it. A magical story with magical music. And then, when I learned that the city of Hamelin really exists, I thought, well, that's great. You learn something new every day.
The Grimm brothers collected many of their fascinating stories in Kassel, where they lived for a long time. At the interactive museum Grimm Welt, visitors can encounter the best-known characters from the collection, the Frog Prince and Snow White's 7 dwarves. But Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm were more than fairy tale collectors. They studied law, went into politics, and launched the first German dictionary. The Mammoth Project wasn't completed until after their deaths.
They collected these old cultural artifacts, the fairy tales and sagas, and put them in a consistent form, thereby making these stories famous all over the world.
But what distinguishes a legend from a fairy tale?
Sagas or legends always have at least a grain of historical truth. For example, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Something like that really did happen here.
The Pied Piper was here in the Bungelosenstraße, which means the drumless street. So the street without music. An inscribed beam on a building there tells the story of the Pied Piper. 20 meters of eyewitness accounts. What more could you want?
Whether legend or fairy tale, the stories collected by the Brothers Grimm are still loved by children in particular, even after 200 years.
I think the Brothers Grimm are still present everywhere in children's rooms. Everyone hears about the Brothers Grimm's fairy tales at some point. It's really a trademark. People know the Brothers Grimm.
So the 200th anniversary of the Grimm's collections of legends is being enthusiastically celebrated in various cities all along Germany's fairy tale route. And we hope everyone lives happily ever after.
How do Germans think? What do they worry about? And what makes them happy? Well, I have lived here for many years, and I'm still grappling with possible answers. But in his latest film called Deutschland, made by Germany, director Sönke Wortmann tries to get to the bottom of the German psyche. The project began on Facebook and was filmed by users in the course of one day. Well, now his social experiment has made its screen debut at a film festival in Munich.
The focus is on fun, friendship, and family. Pia listens to her grandmother who suffers from dementia play the piano. It's one of the few things her grandmother still enjoys.
Spiel noch mal weiter. Spiel noch mal weiter, ich film mal.
Oh.
Ja, wir filmen heute für Deutschland.
Ja.
Ja, mach mal.
Sönke Wortmann invited people across Germany to film their experiences on a single particular day, June 20th, 2015. There was no script, so Wortmann isn't calling himself the project's director. He posted the call for submissions on Facebook.
If you write a script, then you know pretty much how the story will end. And that wasn't the case here at all. That's what I found exciting. And I thought maybe we can distill our country on a specific day in a specific year in such a way that people can understand it.
The film zooms in on two questions. What does Germany mean to you, and what makes you happy?
Ich bin dort oben sehr glücklich, weil ich komplett mit allen völlig im Hier und Jetzt bin.
Some of the clips were shot with professional cameras, others with a computer, tablet, or cell phone. About 10,000 clips were submitted. The film team viewed every single video, a total of about 300 hours of material, looking for the most amusing and moving moments. A mammoth task for Sönke Wortmann and his crew.
First, we put the masses of material into an order and categorized it. We hired an extra 16 people to do that. They arranged the material by topic and eliminated contributions that didn't meet our technical standards. So we had already separated the wheat from the chaff.
Esther Niemeyer was among those who submitted a video. Only 1 second of her clip made it into the final cut. She is part of an international group who practices the Brazilian martial art capoeira in Berlin. She hopes her contribution will help underscore Germany's diversity.
You see cultures mixing all over Berlin. But what I especially like about this group is that you see so many different kinds of people in one place. Not just Brazilians or Germans, but others too, pretty much from everywhere. That's what's so fascinating. And I think that's typical of Berlin.
Hollywood director Ridley Scott debuted this type of film in 2011 when he released the documentary Life in a Day. The movie featured clips by people all over the world shot on the very same day. Is Sönke Wortmann satisfied with his version?
I think this is indeed what Germany is like. It shows its diversity. But I think that with 10,000 contributions, there's a bit of everything in it. I'm pretty certain. And since we didn't censor ourselves by consciously not including things, then it's safe to say Germany must be the way you see it here.
A snapshot of Germany that presents a catalog of personal highs and lows, features characters who couldn't be more different from each other. But they have one thing in common.
What surprised and pleased me was to see that people appreciate how lucky they are to live here, in this country with all the freedoms we enjoy.
Far more than just a patchwork of random moments, Sönke Wortmann's film weaves a vibrant tapestry of Germany and the people who live there.
They say a man's home is his castle, but what if the home is made out of an old grain silo? Then I guess you could call it a kind of artistic masterpiece. Well, one German architect based in the Netherlands recycled this disused structure. And perhaps the biggest challenge was finding the right furniture to fit in the round rooms. Well, we went to have a look.
Jan Körbes is an architect, so he knows how to build a regular house. But that does not interest him right now.
This is a grain silo. It's mine, and I want to live in it.
The self-styled garbage architect started work on this project in 2012. His aim was to build a new home out of things other people threw away.
I am so looking forward to building a house with all the stuff I have collected. The challenge is to make it as small and nice as possible.
So how do you create a two-story home with kitchen and bathroom with just 13 square meters of living space? The silo stands beside his workshop in The Hague in the Netherlands. Fellow architect and I helped him.
Hey, kan je even helpen?
Plenty of experimentation and brainstorming were needed, and a whole lot of imagination.
A spiral staircase, perhaps? Maybe not.
Usually you draw up plans, then you get to work. But not this time. It is actually harder to build with old materials and found objects than with new components. The workshop houses quite a collection of stuff. Not all of it will be used. This will be a window in the silo tower home.
It is actually a balcony door, but it is much too small for most people, so this model just didn't sell well.
Fitting square pegs into round holes and vice versa is tricky. Jan and Denai built a frame for the new balcony door window. The silo is made of fiberglass and believed to contain toxic substances. Still, Körbes chose to use it rather than throw the silo away. Construction involved almost no emissions, which is good for the environment and the climate. Jan and his friends and helpers worked and worked. 2 months in, this is what it looked like. After 9 months, it was all done. Jan Körbes and his daughter Lucia could finally move in. The silo was topped off with a glass roof. The front steps come from old scaffolding. Of course, Jan did not go out and buy a new coat rack.
It's from an old rake. The counter is from an old stand at a trade fair. It's aluminum. This is the kitchen. These are compartments from the door of a refrigerator, where you keep your milk. This is the toilet, with 2 parts for liquid and solid waste, which is composted. This is the bedroom. I sleep so well here. And all the drawers are customized to fit the shape of the silo. Out of the bedroom window, you can look out at the harbor. It's incredible. There aren't many houses with a view like this.
There's even enough room to entertain. The legs of Jan Körbes' homemade table fit into the corners of the bathtub, saving space. The months and months of hard work paid off. Jan Körbes now has a cheap and cheerful, cozy, and very unusual home. And now he is keen to work on more silo conversions.
Time now to take a trip. Estonia may not first come to mind when planning a European vacation, but in fact, this Baltic country has it all. A vibrant capital, lovely beaches, and one of the biggest parks in the region. Lahemaa National Park is about an hour's drive from the capital, Tallinn. And we wanted to get a feel for the diversity which the country has on offer, so we packed our bags for a little adventure.
Tallinn on the Gulf of Finland was a major center in the Hanseatic Trading League. Maritime trade made the city rich. The many weathercocks reveal how important shipping and the sea winds once were. The historic Old Quarter with its labyrinth of cobblestone streets is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Town Hall Square is the center of the lower town, with one of the oldest pharmacies in Europe. The upper town, or Toompea Hill, is home to the cathedral and provides a great view of the remains of Tallinn's medieval castle complex.
It's so picturesque, I think. It's really, really pretty.
Huge city, beautiful sights, lots of history.
We were worried it'd be cold, but it's really warm. That's great.
Some 70 kilometers eastward along the coast, there's more of a breeze blowing. We've come to the Lahemaa National Park. The name means land of bays. It's a place to relax and enjoy. A nature paradise spanning nearly 750 square kilometers with rambling forests and boulders left over from the glaciers of the Ice Age. It's a popular destination for day trippers from Tallinn. The park is celebrating its 45th anniversary.
All the typical forest types of Estonia are represented. Here is both the quiet of nature, of untouched nature, as well as the local traditions and a very high-end culture.
One cultural highlight is the Palms Manor Grand Mansion in the heart of Lahemaa. Many visitors start their day trip here. The Baroque estate and mansion were completed in 1785. It once belonged to the von der Pahlen family, who were of German Baltic origin. Their home has been reconstructed for visitors to see. Palms is one of 4 mansions in the national park. The southwestern area of the national park is home to one of its most popular destinations, the Viru Bog. Wooden planks stretching some 3 kilometers enable visitors to explore the area. Around 20% of Estonia is bogs and marshland. They're important wildlife reserves.
All those typical species you can see here on those plants and those tiny pine trees and birds and insects and everything. Unfortunately, many wetlands and bogs are destroyed, so these areas need protection.
Among Estonians, the many bog pools are popular for swimming in summer. Viru is not just a magnet for nature lovers in general, it's also a paradise for bird watchers.
I came last year, and it's just pure nature. Not so many people, not too developed for tourists. I was so impressed. I felt so rested emotionally, so I just had to come back.
We leave Viru heading north, back to Lahemaa Park. Gasmu is a small fishing village with an impressive maritime history. The village has produced 62 ship's captains throughout its history. Large vessels once set sail from here. The Gasmu Maritime Museum, run by Orne Vaik and his wife, tells all about it. The couple live in and for the museum.
This is my mission. It's a monument to my forefathers and to all the men who once lived here in Gasmu.
The park has 72 settlements, some dating back several thousand years. Few of the houses are still thatched. Wooden buildings, like here in the fishing village of Vinistu, are more typical for the region. The perfect way to round off the day here is with vodka and local fish specialities, herring and salmon. But if you want to see the sunset, you'll have to wait quite a while. The days in summer are especially long here.
And that wraps up another week of Euromaxx. But don't forget, you can always follow us on Facebook. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.